Hello, my name is Stacy from Texas, and here is my question. I still struggle with the idea of a personal God since he does not answer our prayers or ease the suffering of the good and innocent. We say all these blessings about God is intimately involved, but to our eyes it seems otherwise.
I find that God does answer my prayers. However, he is not conventional. He doesn't, he's not a conformist. Doesn't talk to us in the way we talk to each other. I find that God answers with actions. I find that when we pray, we see amazing things happen. I find that when we pray, sometimes we don't get the answer we were looking for. But in retrospect later, we realize that what he answered or what he didn't answer was in fact in our best interests. So many times we ask for things that really wouldn't be good for us. And we only find out later that, wow, what a blessing that he didn't grant us what we were looking for. Now, there are times when we ask for something and things don't happen and tragedies do happen, that's true. But that has to do with an appreciation of the fact that God is all-powerful, all-knowledgeable, and all-good. And once we come to that appreciation of his goodness, we can better understand how there are things that we may not understand and be willing to accept them. But that's a whole long, complicated discussion. But the truth of the matter is, if we look around, we can find the personal God in our lives. I want to share with you a story. One of my daughters was a teacher in Los Angeles, still is, she's there, and a speaker came to the school to talk to the students. The speaker was formerly a secular Jew in Israel, not religious, and later in life became a religious Jew. And he told a story how when he was young, he wasn't religious at the time at all, he and 14 other soldiers were guarding the Suez Canal on the first day of the Yom Kippur War. 1973, on Yom Kippur, the war broke out, and there were 15, were very miscalculated on the part of the Israeli government, but 15 soldiers guarding the canal. All of a sudden, they see crossing the canal hundreds of Egyptian soldiers with rifles, with weapons, with whatever they had, and they were afraid for their lives. Hundreds of armed soldiers waiting across the canal, and these 15 little 17, 18-year-old kids were there by themselves, and they were ready to surrender. All of a sudden, they noticed the Egyptians pick up their hands, drop their arms, and are surrendering the hundreds of soldiers to these 15 kids. They couldn't imagine what hit them. Okay, they took them, this, fine, whatever. One of them spoke Arabic. So he asked them, he says, wait, what happened? Why did you guys do that? So he says, you didn't see what was going on? From behind you was an army coming down with battalions, with tanks, with rifles, with guns, with who knows what. I says, we were outnumbered by far with all of your ammunition and this. We had to surrender. There was nothing there. There were no tanks, there were no armies, there were no armors, there were no weapons, there was nothing. Maybe they were smoking something, I don't know, but it was a figment of their imagination. So my daughter walks over to this ex-army person and says, is that what influenced you to become religious, seeing such a miracle? He said, absolutely not. So she pursues the questioning, and she says, what did influence you to decide you want to become religious? So he said, years later, I was at a speech, and I heard a speaker telling over that story. And it hit me that was me. I was standing there. I saw that with my... That's what inspired me to connect with God and become religious. See, sometimes God is directly involved in our lives, and we don't even notice it. And we have to wait years later till we hear a speaker that we're paying attention to, that we're focused on. He must have been a dynamic or interesting speaker telling us a story like that. Oh, now all of a sudden I realize. So I think if we look, we will, how does it say? He who seeks finds. If we will look for the God connection in our lives, we'll be amazed at how often, how deep, how intimate that connection truly is.